What's going on, movie fans? My name is Michael Weer. I love talking about movies and I love ranking movies, and that is what we're here to do today because the month of July 2025 is rapidly coming to an end. And right here on this channel, what I like to do at the end of every month is stop and take a look back at all of the brand new releases that I had a chance to see in the previous month and rank them from worst to best. Now, this month dropped a bunch of mega blockbusters, a couple of horror movies, and a bunch of stuff straight to streaming. So I'm excited to give you guys my ranked list of all the brand new releases that I had a chance to see in July of 2025. But as always, this is never just about my list, it's about your list as well. And so I would love to know all of the brand new releases that you had a chance to see in July of 2025 and how you would rank them from worst to best. So if you have a list of movies that you got a chance to see in July, well, throw that down in the comment section and let's talk about it. Just remember, your list probably not going to match my list, and that's totally okay because we all have different opinions, and we definitely all have different opinions on movies. Now, I had a chance to see 9 brand new films in July of 2025, and of those 9 films, I did 9 quick reactions, quick YouTube shorts for those movies, gave you guys my quick thoughts before the movie, after the movie, and all of those can be found on my YouTube channel. So if you want more of the thoughts on these movies, well, I've done quick reactions for all of them. And then if you want my full thoughts on any of these movies, well, I did 5 full movie reviews for 5 of the movies we're about to talk about. All of those are on my YouTube channel now. Plus, I did a spoiler review, which I typically don't do on my channel, but I did a spoiler review for Superman. So if you want more of the thoughts on the movies we're going to talk about here today, well, go ahead and check my channel out after you watch this video. And finally, guys, if this is the first time you found my channel, well, I would love for you guys to hit that subscribe button. Check out all the different content on my channel, whether you like movie reviews, Blu-ray talk, or even ranked list videos. I've got a little bit of everything on my channel, and I'd love for you guys to check it out. All right, let's get into my ranked list of brand new movies from July of 2025, from the worst to the best.
Here we go.
That is one big pile of shit.
No, I shot him. Bullets in the fall killed him.
Now, I said at the beginning of this video that I saw 9 brand new films in the month of July 2025, and 2 of those brand new films actually released earlier this year, but since I saw them in the month of July, I just thought I'd throw them in this ranked list like I've done many times in the past. And I bring all that up because my number 9 pick actually released in May of 2025. It's directed by Wes Anderson. It will be super controversial that I have marked it as the worst movie that I've seen in July of 25, but it is The Phoenician Scheme, and The Phoenician Scheme stars Benicio del Toro. He plays a businessman that wants to try and get a business deal done, and throughout the film it's supposed to be funny when all these terrorists or assassins are trying to kill him, but it just didn't come off as funny to me. This movie is supposed to be Wes Anderson's style of dry humor, but all of the acting came off as extremely robotic or extremely dry or stale, and it didn't feel like any of the actors wanted to be in the movie. On top of that, the storytelling or the way that Wes Anderson weaves his narratives in his films just doesn't seem like something that really vibes with me personally. I remember thinking the same thing when I saw Asteroid City a couple years ago. I just think maybe Wes Anderson's movies aren't for me. And so since this list is based on my feelings of the brand new movies that I had a chance to see, I have to put The Phoenician Scheme at number 9, unfortunately. Coming in at number 8 is a legacy sequel horror film that I really had a lot of anticipation for and ended up leaving the theater pretty disappointed, and that, of course, is I Know What You Did Last Summer. This is, of course, a legacy sequel to that original 1997 I Know What You Did Last Summer, and a legacy sequel inside of the horror genre typically means that you're going to have a new cast of characters being chased around by something familiar from the past. In this case, it's somebody wearing a fisherman's coat and hat and has a hook that it's wielding the entire time going after them. But it's a legacy sequel because while it's giving you a new cast and a new story, it doesn't forget the past, and usually legacy sequels bring back legacy characters, and that's what this movie did. It brings back Jennifer Love Hewitt back to her role from the original film, and it also brings back Freddie Prinze Jr. from his role from that original film. The 2 survivors from that movie have lived 30 plus years in this universe, and now this fisherman out for blood Hollywood is going after this new cast of characters, and they recruit those legacy characters to help them stop this hook-wielding villain. And here's the deal with this movie. I was really looking forward to it because the Scream films recently came back. There was a resurgence in the slasher genre thanks to movies like Halloween and Scream, and now we're getting I Know What You Did Last Summer, and the fact that they brought Freddie Prinze back and they brought Jennifer Love Hewitt back, all of those things got me really excited. Now, my reasons for really being disappointed in this movie are with the story of the film. They're also with some of the characters in this film. I'll break it all down quickly here. Again, I have done a full review for this, but the story of this film felt stale because they essentially took the story and the plot from the first movie and just did it again. They didn't really try to give you anything new. They had a group of young adults who do something stupid on the same road as the people from the first movie, almost in the exact same way, and so then they have to make a pact to not tell anybody about the thing that they did, and then the next summer, a fisherman is after them with a hook, and it's just like, you guys couldn't come up with any new plot? This all feels stale. This all feels old. As a matter of fact, the biggest positive I had for this movie was that the kills lived up to the expectation that I expected out of an I Know What You Did Last Summer movie, but they never wowed me. They never made me feel like, wow, we got to this next level with the kills. Like, it was a hook to the stomach or somebody getting choked or somebody getting shot. And I was just like, all right, I expected these kills. Can you give me something more? No? All right, well, I guess I'm not disappointed by the kills. But then we get into who got killed, and that started to annoy me even more. Because for whatever reason in this film, if your gender is female, you essentially have plot armor to make it to the end of the film. Like 99% of the women characters in this film that make it through the movie have all gone through something just as bad as some of the guys have gone through, but the guys die instantly and the women push forward. And it just, after a while, started to feel a bit ridiculous. Like, come on, can anybody see here that they're pushing an agenda? Listen, I'm not trying to make it an agenda, but when the first scene you see Jennifer Love Hewitt in, and she's got a cup that says "Down with the Patriarchy," and then the movie pushes that all these women can survive longer than men just because, that seems like an agenda. So for all of those reasons, this movie was incredibly disappointing, and it's my number 8 pick for July of 2025. That'll lead me to number 7 on this list, and at number 7, we have a Netflix released film, and that is a comedy that I was also really looking forward to, and it is Happy Gilmore 2. Happy Gilmore 2 is a movie I wanted to like more. Apparently, I'm in the minority on the internet because so many people loved this film, and they absolutely loved the cameo fest that was this movie. Now, I didn't necessarily dislike the cameo fest, but unfortunately for me at least, the movie never felt like it was just as good as that original Happy Gilmore film. That original Happy Gilmore was prime Adam Sandler. It was raunchy comedy done right, and that's a problem that I feel like Hollywood has had in the last 10 to 15 years, and that is comedies not hitting the way that they used to. Everything plays it so safe in the comedy realm, and so when I heard that Adam Sandler was teaming up with Netflix to make another Happy Gilmore film, well, I got really excited about that because I was like, maybe this is the return of raunchy comedy Adam Sandler. I love movies like Mr. Deeds, Billy Madison, and Happy Gilmore, so I got so excited about Happy Gilmore 2, and then again, they seem to substitute a lot of the laughs for little cheap laughs with cameos, like, oh, look, that's Post Malone saying something funny. Don't you like Travis Kelce being tied to a pole and having honey spread on his chest? Isn't that great? And it was just little gags like that sometimes were like, oh, I could see that being funny, but they never really made me laugh out loud. I have to admit that the Eminem cameo in the film was funny. The fact that he was supposed to be Bob Barker's son, and then he takes on everybody, and then he takes on alligators. Okay, that did make me laugh out loud. But for the most part, I did feel like the comedy in this movie really suffered from 2025 suppression of comedy. And so while I wanted to love this long-awaited sequel, I just found myself not really enjoying it. Hell, I didn't even really enjoy the Ben Stiller moments because those original Ben Stiller moments from the first movie were so damn good. You could trouble me for a warm glass of shut the hell up. That's great. But in this movie, you never got something that good out of him, and that was too bad. So that's why Happy Gilmore 2 is my number 7 pick for July of 2025. At number 6 is a movie that I really wanted to love more because I love dinosaurs, and that of course would be Jurassic World Rebirth. Jurassic World Rebirth is supposed supposed to be a rebirth to the franchise, or at least that's how they were selling it, but you ended up getting a bunch of different ideas from previous Jurassic World books or movies sort of meshed together, and they had this thing done, filmed, production done in a year and a half, which is kind of crazy for a big budget CGI movie, but they did. And what we ended up getting was one storyline that I really loved, with Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali going as this team back to the world of dinosaurs on an island where they were going to get all of this different dino DNA so they could help cure different diseases back on the mainland. But at the same time, while that storyline worked for me, there's also a family storyline where you've got this family just coasting along the ocean. They happened to get their boat destroyed by the mosasaur, although it doesn't destroy them, just their boat. So their shipwrecked boat is then picked up by the group of people going to that island to retrieve dino DNA. And now you've got two different plots sort of meshed together so that you can have two different plots on the island, because when they get there, they immediately get separated again. And you've got this family plot that's supposed to be the emotional side of the story, where it's like, hey, you don't want these little kids to die, right? So you're going to be invested in this story. But what you end up getting is this family with absolutely no training experience, no idea what happens with dinosaurs, has no idea to be still and not make a sound around the T-Rex, but here they are completely making their way through this Jurassic World island time after time after time, getting around these dinosaurs with little to no problems. And then this mercenary group, armed to the teeth, trained, ready to go, know about dinosaurs, they're getting picked off left and right like you would expect out of a Jurassic movie. And those two plots just didn't work for me. They didn't mesh together, and they had these plots running simultaneously so that at the end they could all meet up for my biggest disappointment of this movie, and that is the mutated D-Rex. And you heard me right, I said D-Rex. This is a T-Rex mixed into something else, mutated, and it ends up looking like a giant kaiju. And if I want to watch a giant kaiju movie, I'll watch Godzilla, or I'll watch an old Gamera movie, but I'm not watching Jurassic movies for big kaiju monsters. Maybe some people are, maybe some people loved that. There was a really cool moment where it came out of this red fog, and yeah, that was cool, but that's it. Otherwise, this thing looked like a big kaiju monster out of Pacific Rim and not a Jurassic Park or Jurassic World dinosaur. And so since that was your big send off to this movie, was this big monstrosity that never should have been made in the first place, well, I was just disappointed. I wanted more out of the T-Rex. Hell, I wanted more than the 5 seconds we get out of the raptors in this movie, but that's what we got. So this movie ended up being pretty disappointing, although I will say it's better than the previous two entries into the Jurassic World franchise. I think it's better than Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and it is much better than Jurassic World Dominions. So maybe they're onto something new here. Maybe the next one will really wow me, but I want them to take time with the story. Yes, I was very happy that we got this one quickly, but take time with the story, make that story make a little more sense, have one cohesive plot instead of splitting this movie into basically two films and then just meshing them together. But because of all those reasons, Jurassic World Rebirth is number 6. We've cracked the top 5 of my July 2025 ranked from worst to best list. Don't forget to leave your ranked list of all the brand new movies that you had a chance to see in July of 2025 in that comment section down below. Let's get back to the list. And at number 5, we have the Amazon Prime released film Heads of State. This film stars Idris Elba as the UK Prime Minister, and it stars John Cena, the last real champ, as the American president. Now, I say he's the American president, and that sounds goofy right off the bat, but when you think about it, America once did elect Ronald Reagan, who was an actor turned politician, to the highest seat in government as the president of the United States, so I guess it's not too far-fetched. In fact, they kind of play John Cena's character as a Ronald Reagan type. He was very beloved as an actor, turned into a politician, was the most famous politician to get elected to be president of the United States. So now you have President John Cena, and you have UK Prime Minister played by Idris Elba, who don't don't like each other. They've had a falling out in the past. The movie opens with them having a press conference. That goes pretty poorly. And then their staffers kind of suggest, hey, why don't you two do this tour together? It'll make it look like you're friends. And so they finally decide, okay, we're going to get on board Air Force One. We're going to do this tour together. And as they're in the air, well, a terrorist strike happens. Air Force One goes down. And now the two of them are stuck behind enemy lines. And they have to fight and fight and fight their way back to safety. And that's pretty much the plot of the movie. And I don't know why I gave you the whole plot just now, but even talking about it, that just gets me excited because that was a really fun plot to put together. Not to mention the fact that this movie also relies on some comedy out of John Cena, because while he's an actor turned president, he's not a fighter. He's acted like he's fought in movies before, but he's never really fought or shot real guns at people, whereas Idris Elba's UK Prime Minister was in the military, and so he does know how to fight. So a lot of your hard-hitting action, at least in the first half of this film, comes from Idris Elba. But then, of course, towards the back half of this film, both of them are kicking some ass. So if you like a fun action comedy that went straight to streaming, this one was pretty decent. I had a really fun time with it. And maybe one of my biggest positives in this movie was Jack Quaid's character showing up, and he's basically a little bit longer than a normal cameo, but he has one of the most kick-ass scenes in the entire movie. So if you're a big Jack Quaid fan, you should check it out for him, because again, he's got a pretty badass action scene right in the middle of this film. And so for all those reasons, Heads of State is my number 5 film for July of 2025. Coming in at number 4, we have the A24 film Warfare. Warfare is a horrific true life story about a bunch of soldiers who were in a building in Iraq in 2006, and they were stuck there as enemy fire was surrounding them from all sides. And this movie isn't just based on a true life story. This movie is based off of the true life soldiers who went through this event and the memories that they have of this horrific event in Iraq. The film is directed by both Alex Garland, who previously directed Civil War. I thought that film was shot brilliantly, so him behind the camera really made sense for this war movie. But it's also directed by Ray Mendoza, who was a Navy SEAL at the time of this event, was there at this event, experienced this horrific event with those other soldiers. So having him behind the camera, I'm sure, was very important. Now, while I think this movie is incredibly important to show the horrific side of warfare, it's not just a bunch of guys shooting at each other, having fun. This movie is gritty, it's dark, it's horrific. Watching the events, watching what these soldiers had to go through will really put you through it. Now, while I think this movie is important for a lot of reasons, it helps get those stories from those soldiers out, but it also shows people who don't know what real war is like, what it looks like. You get true horrific details from this event. And again, I think it's very important that everyone should see this movie. But I think my biggest positive overall for this film is the sound design. The sound design of the grenades going off, the bullets ripping by, people getting ripped apart, or something called the show of force, which is when the soldiers in the building would call in a show of force. And essentially what would happen is a plane would fly really low to show the surrounding enemies, like, listen, you may get the guys in the building, but we will level this entire area. And anytime they call in that show of force, the sound design is terrifying, but it's also like magnificent. I don't know how else to put it. But I haven't even gotten to my biggest reason that I love the sound design in this movie, and that is anytime an explosion will go off in this film, it'll get really fuzzy for you, the viewer, to hear anything based on the people that you're watching in the film and how bad their hearing is at the time. So essentially, if you have somebody that's really close to a bomb and it goes off, well, it'll be really hard for them or you to make out anything that's being said. But if you're experiencing it from somebody who's on the other side of a wall or was in a house and maybe they were away from that blast, you hear it a little bit better. And I really think the way that they filmed those scenes and gave you the soldier's point of view and the soldier's point of hearing in those scenes was incredibly important, but was just crazy. I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that. Overall, again, I think Warfare is an incredible story. While it is horrific, it's an important story to tell. And it's not even a movie that like, oh, hey, we got to get the mission done, right? Like most war movies, there's a mission we got to get through. But this movie isn't really about that. This movie is just about these soldiers trying to survive and essentially trying to get away from a terrible situation. And that's why Warfare is my number 4 film for July of 2025. Now, coming in at number 3, we have the third and final entry from the MCU on the big screen in 2025, and that, of course, would be The Fantastic Four: First Steps. This was a movie I was really looking forward to. As somebody who's never loved the previous entries into the Fantastic Four franchise, I felt like Marvel was finally doing this right. Well, Marvel was finally doing it. It previously had been Fox, and I feel like they fumbled the ball each time, but this time around, the Fantastic Four was entering the MCU, but they weren't entering it in the traditional way we've seen other MCU films. This movie actually takes place on another Earth away from the events of the current MCU, so you could have these protectors of Earth actually be the only protectors of Earth. And in this film, of course, you get Reed Richards, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, Ben Grimm, all turning into the Fantastic Four. They do a fun montage at the beginning where they fight some of their classic villains. But one of the biggest positives I had for this movie was Reed Richards actually using his scientific brain to beat either street level bad guys, or he would beat galactic villains the exact same way. And I loved that they let him use his incredibly smart brain. To me, that was the biggest standout of this film. There were great performances all around, and seeing Galactus on that big screen was awesome. I guess my only drawback, and the reason this movie isn't my number 2 or my number 1 pick for the entire month, is the fact that this movie was really good, and I liked the story a lot, but it never went to the next level. This movie was like, hey, here's what we're going to give you for a story. Galactus wants this, or he's going to destroy the world, and that's the movie. And I thought, okay, well, they showed me all that in the trailers, so by the third act, there'll be something else. There'll be something big. And maybe it was more of my over-anticipation of the MCU delivering like they've done in the past, but unfortunately, this time around, what they sold you in the trailer is exactly what you get in the movie. So it never really goes to that next level, in my own personal opinion. I still had a really good time with this movie. I do think it's the best Fantastic Four film that's been made, but that is a really low bar. I would say that this is also one of the better MCU films since Endgame, but again, I think that's a bit of a low bar, so we'll see where they go with the Fantastic Four from here. The end credits scene said that they would be back in the film Avengers Doomsday, so I look forward to more from this first family of Marvel in the future, and that is why the Fantastic Four is my number 3 pick for July of 25. That'll bring us to my top 2, and at number 2 we have the horror found footage film House of Eden. House of Eden is a movie that I really loved, and I know I might be a bit in the minority on loving this film. I don't think it brings anything brand new to the table, but I just love the found footage genre, and to me this is found footage done right. It's found footage where it actually looks like the 3 main people in this film are actually holding the cameras the entire time. Now, I don't know if they had a big cast and crew. This movie was a pretty low budget, so part of me really believes that it was these 3 actors who were holding the cameras for the entire movie. I would love confirmation on that. It was just a really cool thing to see. Reminded me very much of movies like The Blair Witch Project or The Last Exorcism, where it's a found footage film and it feels like found footage. But other reasons I really like this movie is I think it really genuinely creeped me out, not just in the theater, but when I got home at night. Like, I can separate scary movies from real life most of the time. Most of the time I come away from scary movies and I'm like, it didn't really scare me. But I understand I'm almost 35 and movies shouldn't necessarily scare me. But I loved that this movie genuinely creeped me out to the point where I'm laying in bed that night. I'm like looking over my covers like, there's no old ladies in here, right? We're good? Okay, good. Like, this movie, again, it genuinely creeped me out. It felt like real found footage. I loved the relationship of the characters in this film as well. You know, they're a bunch of YouTubers or vloggers, and they're making this paranormal investigation film, and it feels like these people are best friends in real life. Again, I don't know if they are, but if they aren't, they did a great job selling me on their friendship. When they were on their way to this paranormal investigation, they would stop and do things that I've seen other YouTubers do in videos, like, hey, I know that this is a real serious video, but let's stop and play a little quick game of hide and seek, or let's do a little dance. And I just loved all of that. I absolutely am the YouTube generation. I love watching that kind of stuff. And so putting it in a film, making it feel real, well, that's what I'm all about. And making this a found footage film that feels real is something that I think is very rare. So that's why House on Eden is my number 2 film for July of 25. And that brings me to my number 1 pick for July of 2025. And at number 1, we have James Gunn's Superman.
Hey, buddy, eyes up here.
This is, of course, kicking off the brand new DC universe, something that I was a bit skeptical of a couple of years ago, because while most of the DCEU movies were back and forth, I really liked some of them, especially the Zack Snyder ones, but I really didn't like other ones, the ones that weren't Zack Snyder films. But when they said it was ending, I got a little sad because I was like, man, I love some of those characters so much, especially Henry Cavill's Superman. And then we got the big tease from Black Adam, which wasn't a great movie, but at least we were getting Henry Cavill back. And then a couple weeks later, they were like, nope, no more Henry Cavill. We were just kidding. You're now getting a new Superman. And so that made me sad. But when they rebooted this universe, I couldn't believe how much I bought into the new cast of characters that we got in this film. From David Cornsweet's Superman, who did such a great job as this beacon of hope in our universe, or Lois Lane, played by Rachel Brosnahan. She did a great job in her role. I also loved the casting of Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, and not just a villain, not just somebody looking for world domination, or he's not some space god coming to Earth to destroy stuff. No, no, no. This is a generational hater, Lex Luthor. This is somebody who inspires you to hate Superman, and it's done so damn well. This guy will do absolutely anything. He'll tarnish his own reputation. He'll even start a war between two countries just to try and take down Superman. That's how evil and menacing and just overall filled with jealousy and rage that this Lex Luthor is, and Nicholas Hoult does such a great job with him. But it's not just the top casting in this film either. The introduction of the Justice Gang, getting to see Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, you get to see Rick Flag Sr., who's going to be a big part of the Peacemaker show. All of that worked for me. And speaking of the Peacemaker show, you get a ton of cameos in this film, but it doesn't just feel like cameo fest. It feels like it's important. It feels like it's necessary to continue building this new DCU. And of course, we get a cameo from Peacemaker, the last real champ, John Cena, and that made me really happy too. Overall, there wasn't much I didn't like about this movie. I had a really fun time with it. If you want my full thoughts on Superman, I not only did a full movie review for this, but I also did a spoiler review, and I'd love for you guys to check those videos out. But for all of those reasons, that's why Superman is my #1 film for July of 2025. And guys, those are all the brand new movies that I had a chance to see in July of 2025, ranked from worst to best. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, because I had a great time making it. Don't forget to drop your list of brand new movies that you saw in July of 25 in that comment section down below. And finally, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that like button, because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Alright guys, we got to the end of my July 2025 movies ranked from worst to best video. I had a great time making this video. Really hope you guys enjoyed this, because this is one of my favorite video series that I have going on my channel. I've been making these ranked lists for a couple of years now, and just when I get to the end of the month, I get really excited to talk about these movies one more time. But with all that said, if you want to check out any of the other content on my channel, well, I've got all of my best and worst of 2025 right there, and I've got all of my 2025 movie reviews right there.